Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Katie and I do lifestyle and finance videos. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the strategies I use to double my salary in 3 years. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Katie. Please think about subscribing. I make weekly finance and lifestyle videos, but let's get into the video. I was just on Reddit and I saw a thread about somebody feeling really underpaid and undervalued, and I reminded of myself of the time when I first started working and I took a job that I was so underpaid for and I was really unhappy, and it just felt like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be stuck here forever making little to no money. I really got out of that through some of these strategies I'm going to talk about today. Alerts before I get into this video: these are things that work for me. They may not necessarily work for you or be applicable to your lifestyle. You know, I'm not going to be talking about if you already make $200,000 a year trying to double your salary to $400 a year. That might not be realistic. So just take everything with a grain of salt. These are just things that work for me, and hopefully some of them will be applicable to your life. So then my first tip is to ask your boss for more money. This is the number one thing that you should do before doing anything else. My mom always says, if you don't ask, the answer is always no, but make sure if you are asking for a raise outside of a promotion cycle or you're trying to make a case for yourself to get a raise, make sure that you bring the appropriate documentation. So some of the things that I would suggest are, number one, look at like what the market rate is for your job in your city, the type of employment that you are in, and seeing if you are equivalent, below, or above. That's a great thing to bring to your employer to point out, you know, the market rate for my job in this area is XYZ and I'm getting paid this. This is one of the reasons that I should be compensated a little bit more. The second thing to raise to your employer is your performance. So either during the performance review, in general, if you are meeting and or exceeding your performance, bring that towards your employer. You know, you want to bring factual information and salary comparisons within your area. The second thing to do is to try to get promoted, and this will be dependent on the structure of the company that you're in. So do you have regular fiscal years that you get a performance review? Does that come with promotion potential, bonuses, salary increases that are tied to your performance? Look really closely at what your job expectations are and make sure that you're exceeding them. So make sure throughout the year you are tracking and demonstrating in a clear way how you are meeting them and exceeding those performance expectations. Make sure that you are tracking through the year how you're meeting your performance requirements and exceeding those. So when your performance evaluation comes along and you are up for promotion, you can demonstrate very clearly how you have exceeded those requirements in your job and are meeting like the next level. So if the next level is like an analyst or a manager, how you are already doing that in your current role. And a really great way to do this is make sure that you're checking in with your boss. Make sure that you're talking about it with your boss through the year. So bringing up with them, you know, this is how my performance, can I get some feedback? So you make sure that you are on track to get promoted. So those are my first two tips. To number one, ask for a raise, come with factual information and salary comparisons, and try to get promoted. Those are the easiest ways to increase your money instantly, but that's not going to double your salary for most people. You know, I have some friends that during their promotion cycle, if they get promoted to the next level up, they're getting like $20,000 increases, they're getting 10% increases, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is amazing, but that was not realistic for me. Because all the raises that you do receive are based off of your base salary, if your base salary is already at like whatever a set that it is, it's very difficult to go from $50,000 to $100,000 within your own company if you're only getting 3 to 5% raises each year. That personally was not the strategy that I used. So I got promoted and I also got a merit increase that was separate from my promotion, but my promotion only gave me like 3% raise and my merit increase was like 1%, which is not a merit increase. It is a cost of living adjustment. So I knew for me personally, I was not going to be able to grow in the company that I was at. So for a lot of us, upward mobility has become really difficult at, you know, specific companies that we're at, and it's all personal. So your company may have different policies from others. A lot of the time, some of these tasks, when you take on more work, are basically just absorbed and you're not getting fairly compensated for them. So I'm at the same position, doing more work, doing more responsibility, but having no compensation or no title change. So for some of us, you know, even when you're taking on more work and you do have a merit increase, sometimes when a separate person comes into the company from an outside organization, you guys are doing the same task, same experience, but because they came from somewhere else and were able to negotiate that base salary to begin with, they are making more money than you. So you really have to evaluate what are your expectations within your own company. Do you have any room to grow, and make a decision going there. But if you do choose to look for another job, this is a great way to increase your income. So the third way to increase your salary is to learn new skills. If you learn new skills, you might be able to get different types of employment within your same area that will compensate you more. So for me, a thing that I started learning was a lot of data visualization. I started doing this a little bit in my job and I wasn't that great at it. I did take a course at night. It was in Tableau, and I was able to jump to a different job that used a lot more data visualization, and they needed someone with a little bit more advanced qualities and skill sets in that, and I was able to get that job from learning a new skill. So think about what sector that you work in. Look what other people are doing on LinkedIn and what their skill base is. If there is some clear skill like SPSS, I don't even know if people still use SPSS anymore, but you know, if people in your area use R, is that something that you can learn on the side, take night courses that for your next employer, they will want to pay somebody a little bit more money if they're able to do R. So make sure you do that research if you're able to learn new skills that will pay you more money once you leave your company. The fourth way I increased my salary was to leave my job. So I'm actually on my third job, and each time I've gotten a salary increase, but the first jump from my very first company to my second company, my salary increased by almost 20%. And that is the sure way to increase your money. Think about what the structure is at your current organization. If you're only getting 5% increases, 3%, shop around, look at other companies to see what they're compensating you for the equivalent, or what the next job higher position is. I will preface, you know, money is not everything. There are other factors to take into consideration. That's not just money, like flexible work environment, work culture, all that stuff. But the surest way to make more money is to find a new job. So my tip when you're looking for a new job is to apply to a lot of companies. You're trying to increase your salary is to apply to a lot of companies that you genuinely want to work for, that are in your area, that you can see yourself in, that have, you know, great benefits, to get an idea of what the market will pay for your type of work. When I was interviewing, there was such a salary difference between some of the companies, you know, whether it was in consulting or like an NGO or government sector, or, you know, one aspect of my work, more of like the data visualization was a bigger aspect. You know, some of these salary ranges were so wide. You're talking about 40K ranges of almost the same job. So make sure that you're applying to a lot of companies, getting a lot of feedbacks, getting an understanding of what the market will pay for your type of work. And so my next tip with finding a new job is make sure that when you're interviewing, you don't do this. Do not tell them what you're actually making. Okay, this is so important. If you are making $50,000, let's just say for like easy math, and you are looking to make like $70,000, $65,000 at your next job, do not tell the employer that you're interviewing with that you are making $50,000, because an employer is trying to get their maximum benefit, you're trying to get your maximum benefit. So if you tell them that you're currently making $50,000 and your expectations are $70,000, they can come back to you and say, well, you know, in their mind, thinking about it, this person only makes $50,000 and maybe they'll settle for $60,000. You know, they're gonna lowball you and come some sort of negotiation in the middle. So what you need to do is minimum do at least 10 to 20% higher than what you're making. Obviously within realistic expectations. If you're in an area that, you know, most people are making $40,000 and you come to them and you tell them you're making $80,000 for like an entry-level position, you know, they might give you a side eye. But 10% increase, 15% increase to make sure you're starting closer to what the salary expectations you want. It's really easier to negotiate a higher salary at a new employer that they have no background information of what you've been doing. So yeah, I looked for a new job, I lied about my salary, and I got a higher salary, and I made about a 20% increase of just leaving to a new company. And then again, I jumped companies again. It wasn't the only reason. I'm no longer in consulting. It was something that I didn't really want to do anymore. But again, once what I was applying for new jobs, I lied again and said I was making like $10,000 more than I actually was. depending on the state, country that you're in, they legally can or cannot look into it, but it's very rare for an employer to want to know like your W-2s or how much you're actually making. And I feel like if they did, that would be a red flag that I wouldn't necessarily want to work there. Look at comparisons online. There's really great resources like Indeed, Glassdoor. I have found Glassdoor really helpful. If you do have like some people in your industry that you really trust, you can disclose how much you're making and they can let you know if you're, you know, under or overpaid. I was really lucky that I have a great network of women in the same area that I am in that are pretty open about like how much we're compensated. It's not really like competitive between us. It's more like making sure we are all getting compensated fairly. So check with your network, check with the internet. You can get a fair assessment of how much you should be paid for what your work is. Another strategy is if you are looking for a job and you have multiple offers, you can play them off of each other. So I personally, if I had a job and I came to my job with another offer and tried to get my job that I am at to pay me more money, I wouldn't stay because of that. I just think it's not always the smart move. I personally have never seen it turn out positively for anyone. It always ends up with you leaving the company eventually, because yes, they may compensate you more right now, but you never know. In the back of their mind, they know that you have been thinking about leaving. So I personally wouldn't do that. Other strategy is if you have multiple offers, of try to play them off of each other to see if you can get a little bit more money. Doesn't work always, but it has been successful for some people. I've personally never used it, so that's why I'm not sharing it in my story, but that's something to consider if you do have multiple offers from multiple companies, to bring them towards each other to see if you can, you know, get a little bit more money. Yeah, so those are my tips. That is how I doubled my salary. I asked for a promotion, I asked for a raise. When I wasn't getting fairly compensated, I constantly was moving new companies. And on top of that, I was making sure at night or on the weekends, I was learning a new skill set so I could make my resume even more diverse. If you feel like you're not compensated, if you feel like you're undervalued, just know that there is somebody out there that will pay you for what you're worth. You will be somewhere where you're fairly compensated, where you have great benefits. Just don't give up. I know it feels really hard sometimes when, you know, you're underpaid and you can't find a new job, especially given, you know, the economy right now. It's really, really tough. If you want a higher salary and you've already spoken to your employer and they're not going to give it to you, it's time to leave. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what your tips are to raise your salary, what you've done, what has worked for you and what hasn't worked for you. But all I can say is just keep in there. I know it can be a really tough and long process. It's not a fun process. It is not, you're not going to find a new job tomorrow. That's all I'll say. Maybe for the lucky ones, but for me, it took 8 months the first time, around 8 months again the second time. It was really, really tough and long and just very disheartening at some times. But you got to keep trying, because you will be valued somewhere. There's somebody that's going to properly compensate you for your work. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.